Okay, so here's what I think about the game, about what worked and what definitely didn't. Unfortunately, I think too many things just don't work. The closer I got to the ending, the more I knew exactly what flaws I was going to point out at the end, and then I found another one, and another one, and then came the final boss. Let's start at the top, though. No, it's not the modern shooter conventions of the boring city streets in the Middle East. It's not the iron sights or the sprinting, especially as I successfully completed it on the old school achievement, which make me genuinely happy. Again, I'm so glad it's in the game, so glad you definitely can finish the game like that, at least on normal difficulty. Now, the very first big downside of this game that affects gameplay and hinders enjoyment is the dust. I'm not kidding. I don't know, maybe my graphic settings are so terrible that it obscures more than it was ever planned or something, but the damn dust got on my nerves from beginning to end. Was it done purely for faux realism, in which case it failed because I seriously doubt shooting guns in a desert looks anything like that, space monsters or no? Or was it an actual gameplay choice? What, you were able to see too much in the encounters, so we need a way to limit that? How does that make any sense? At all. No, Crow Team, just no. Second in line is the third condition for the old school achievement, the reloading. Not being allowed to manually reload added a tiny bit to the difficulty, but that's largely irrelevant. The fact that we have to reload the shotgun, the assault rifle, and even the frickin' Devastator breaks the flow of endless murder so much that it screams out, this game isn't as good as it could be, every time. It seems like a silly minor complaint, but you have to rely on those guns so much that it's too noticeable. And of course, you have to compare it to the encounters where only the useless revolvers had to reload. The standard shotgun and the Tommy gun, that worked just as beautifully as all the other guns. In Serious Sam, you don't have the time to reload. You already have to pause the killing when you switch to a more suitable weapon. That's the sort of tactical part of the gameplay. Serious Sam is about dealing with hordes, not 3 soldiers at a time. Reloading is pure inactivity, and that's just a sin. Third point I brought up in one of the videos at length and then wrote a huge forum post about it. Hit scan weapons. The encounters only had the arachnids, and the second encounter had a truly annoying part where there was tons of them. Serious Sam 3 has 2 types of soldiers, 2 types of arachnids, the technopolyps, and I shall call it the tentacle bitch as well. Enemies that instantly hit you with near perfect accuracy, a few bullets can be avoided, are just wrong for a Serious Sam game, or any game with its aspirations of being old school. Cover and regenerating health were invented because that's the only way to effectively deal with those types of enemies, and it's an incredibly boring way. My fourth big criticism against Serious Sam 3 is, honest to God, the psychic witch with the tentacles. A single enemy, but the worst possible one you could put in any game ever, but especially a shooter, and most especially Serious Sam. What were they thinking? I don't even know what to say about her anymore. She holds you in place, and basically stops you from aiming. How does anyone even come up with that? How does that make it past the first design meeting, past playtesting, and actually into a game? There have been a lot of cheap enemies in video game history, but all but the most unfair ones could be avoided or quickly killed, or otherwise dealt with once you know of their incredible cheapness. I'm thinking Kaizo-type traps in platformers, blocks, and enemies that pop up right where you are or going to be. Or that turret at the dam in Half-Life 1. Even lame-ass quick-time events. But when you see a witch, find 3.5 sides of cover and wait until she appears 3 times. And that's just for one. Towards the end, when there were like 5 of them, I had no other choice but to cower in a tiny hut and wait for them one by one. And I still got hit. And I was lucky they were the only enemies around. Pairing them with anything else is cruel, as you're either getting hit by them or the enemies, depending what you waste your concentration on. Pairing anything with clears is always especially dangerous. Pairing them with more hit-scan enemies should be against the Geneva fucking Convention. I will never get over the incredible cheapness of that part. It was the only part that was literally no fun at all, in the slightest. Dying a lot is hilarious. Dying just once because of the witches ruins my mood for a week. The final boss wasn't frustrating, even if it sounded like that in my video. It was just difficult and you needed a certain approach. That happens all the time in Serious Sam and in 3 especially. I honestly think the encounters are simply easier overall. It was just 2 or 3 big holy shit kind of areas. No, what was frustrating was that they hit the one vital component of the battle in an enclosed ruin, and if you didn't get there within 20 seconds you were deader than dead. You don't do shit like that, Crow Team. You plant that thing right in our faces, or give it to us beforehand. Don't put it behind a wall on the right, and infinite rockets, 100 health, and a large cannonball supply to the left. Spawning 3 red biomegs when picking up a +1 health is hilarious. Screwing the player over in a final boss fight is, especially not in a puzzle boss fight. I was learning a whole new game while dying to 3 hits. Did the Deus Ex Human Revolution people design this boss? It has literally nothing to do, gameplay-wise, with the whole rest of the game. Pole-throwing jetpacks, not being airborne, insta-killing you? Hello? Again, all I can ask about any of these decisions is, what were they thinking? I thought that getting the negatives out of the way first would make this crappy post-LP review end on a higher note, but the only really good things are the ones that survived from the encounters, and some of them were even toned down. Well, no, that would be unfair and overly critical. The 2 best things were actually unbelievably great fun. The sledgehammer and the mutilator. The melee weapons. What does that say about everything else? But no, I really couldn't get enough of hammering the Nars and some other less harmless ones, and laser whipping the fuck out of puny rocketeers and even clears. I'm honestly surprised how effective it was against small groups of clears. Truly a nice touch. I think co-op I'd troll everyone and just use the mutilator and the hammer. Still, despite everything I had fun playing through it. The frustrating bits are, all in all, few and far in between. They merely stand out a little because they are so unexpected. I wish more people played it. I wish there were more games like it again. Hard Racer didn't even come close. And I really wish all the Call of Duty kids would give it a go. They don't know the meaning of the word shooter. Serious Sam 3 isn't perfect, but you don't need perfection. You just need a dozen guns and a few hundred enemies. You can beat Call of Duty on Veteran? So what? I can beat Serious Sam alone on normal with the old school achievement. I win.